How we doing out there, brothers and sisters? Welcome back to another edition of the Black Revolution podcast. And this is going to be a good one, brothers and sisters, as I bring forth the facts in the case as they have been presented. I'm here to tell you tonight that I believe we already know that there's foul play to the Nolan Wells case. And one of the boys, one of his friends already told us, we just didn't pick it up. But tonight, your brother Steve is going to present that information to you so that you can see for yourself what I'm talking about. But before we do that, I want to respond to some things that I've seen happening on the internet. And that is, the people can be so mean and talking about Miss Christine in such a way where, they're calling her a fraud and a money grabber and all of this stuff. I don't understand these people, man. I really don't. I don't understand these people, man. And it's just a shame. It's really a shame how they are attacking this woman. And I've even seen black people online saying, oh, she's just a fraud with Crump and a money grabber. Dude, pull yourself together, man. Pull yourself. Have some sensitivity here. This woman just lost her child, man. Right. And now the people are going out of the way to make podcasts that's saying that she lied, that she knew Nolan's friends and all this stuff. Man, I'm going to be playing some stuff back, man, from a podcast that she was on, the Wansleys, to try and clear up some of this nonsense, you see. But before we get in that, remember, brothers and sisters, I'm going to try and prove tonight that one of the close friends of Nolan Wells on the boat and all this stuff, he already told us what happened to Nolan. Most of us just didn't pick it up. But before I do that, I want to address all of the people, white and black, that are saying on the airwaves that, oh man, Mississippi, Emmett Till, that stuff happened so long ago. The South Mississippi, we're a better place. Like I said, for one, you're not a better place, at least overtly, because you're still, or covertly, because you're calling this woman, harassing her, trying to get her fired and making threats because she wants to know what happened to her child. And again, I don't believe nobody black is doing that. Okay. Now, when we talk about the history of Mississippi, why we cannot exclude race, well, brothers and sisters, I got a whole list of why we cannot exclude race, okay? A whole list. Number one, we're looking at the Nolan Wells case. We're looking at the Nolan Wells case with some suspicion of racism. I myself am as well. Because we know the history of Mississippi, and you would be a fool to dismiss the history of a place or a person when that person or place comes mentioned as, something happening bad. You would be a fool to dismiss that history if that place or person has this history. Now, why do we look at this case of Nolan Wells as something with race? I'm going to start from more current times, and then I'll backpedal. Number one, let's look at the Troy Reed case. Trey Reed, rather. DeMartavian Trey Reed. Now, he was found hanging on the Delta State University campus in Mississippi, Grenada County, on September 15th, 2025. That was just last year. His body was discovered hanging from a tree. When we go back and we see how these black kids, these black youth, these black young adults are being found, one thing is in common: a noose hanging, rope around the neck, a noose. Why is that such an important element? Simply because if you go back and you study the history of lynchings and all this stuff in the South, just during and after slavery, and even before slavery, the most preferred method of executing black people was hanging the neck around that noose, right? This is an item that is come from that era. It's integral to that era. So to say, even if there was a black person today that wanted to unalive themselves for whatever reason in the South or anywhere else, I highly doubt it that they would use a noose as the preferred method to do that with. And in so many different cases, it's not just one case, two cases, there's many cases. So Trey Reed was found around 7 a.m. near the campus pickleball courts by staff and students. The Mississippi State Medical Examiner's Office and local police ruled the death a suicide by hanging, stating there was no evidence of foul play. It was suicide by hanging, no evidence of foul play. Family response. Reed's family and civil rights attorneys disputed the findings and called for independent reviews and transparency, as reported by CNN. The Bolivar County coroner, Rudolph Seals, Jr., had led the preliminary examination for Trey Reed, assisted by deputy coroners Maury Rock and Dwayne Proctor. So the Trey Reed incident or suicide was ruled a suicide, right? That we know of. The coroner said it was suicide. Trey Reed in a state university. He just decides to commit suicide with a noose around the neck. That's Trey Reed. Let's fast forward a little bit. We got Tasia Fortune, August 3rd, 2026. That's this year. Where? Once again, Jackson, Mississippi. See that? Nolan Wells, Jackson, Mississippi. On August 3rd, 2026, a 29-year-old black mother of 4 was found dead hanging from a tree behind an abandoned house in Jackson, Mississippi. Her death is currently under active police investigation. The Jackson Police Department discovered Fortune's body hanging in an overgrown backyard on August 3rd, 2026. Once again, the preferred method of suicide for all of these people seems to be hanging. This is the update on the case. As of now, cause of death, not officially determined. Manner of death, not officially determined. I don't know what that means. Suicide, not officially determined. Homicide, not officially determined. Foul play, police have not publicly confirmed that foul play occurred. Investigation, still active, pending. They have a person of interest who's Terrence Anderson, who had reportedly argued with Fortune, was arrested on an unrelated weapons charge and has denied involvement in her death. That's 2. Preferred method of this suicide is hanging, right? By the neck, by the noose. Once again, hanging is an integral part of the slavery era in this country, especially in Mississippi and Alabama, Louisiana, all of these places. So we know that this is, one of those artifacts from back in the days that these black people are choosing to end their lives with. Is this true? Could it be possible, or could it be something more? Okay. Now here's one that kind of blows this thing out of the water when we talk about how law enforcement in Mississippi view the lives of black people, seems to be. This one really shook me to the core. This one really showed me that there's still foul play going on in Mississippi. There's still racism in the police departments in Mississippi. This man, God rest his soul, once again, Jackson, Mississippi, Jackson County. See this? Notorious. This time, the brother's name is Dexter Wade. Dexter Wade was a 37-year-old Mississippi man who left his home on March 5th, 2023. His mother, Betterston Wade, reported him missing, and Jackson police told her they'd been unable to find him. Now, I want you to understand this. This is a lie from the jump. Dexter Wade had been in trouble, unfortunately, before with the law. He went to jail, had a few spats with the law. It's a tight-knit county. The police, sheriffs, and chief were acquainted with Dexter's mom. They knew who this person was. No doubt about it. Now, let's read some more. His mother, Betterston Wade, reported him missing in Jackson. In Jackson, police told her they'd been unable to find him. 172 days later, Mrs. Wade learned the truth. Dexter Wade had been hit and killed by a police vehicle less than an hour after he left his home with a friend. Police knew his name and his mother's name as well, but failed to contact her, leaving his body unclaimed. Okay? So it happens Dexter and a friend left the house in Jackson, Mississippi, went out, don't know if they were going to party and hang and whatever. But less than an hour after he left, he was hit by an off-duty officer in a police cruiser, something to that effect. Hit by the officer. So they would have to take the body down to the morgue. They would have to take pictures and do XYZ. Now they know this man because they fingerprint the body, right? Pictures, fingerprints come back. He's been to jail before. He's had a case. It's all in their log. They did not contact Mrs. Wade. Instead, they took Dexter and buried him in a pauper's field behind a courthouse or a police station in Mississippi. Buried him there. 172 days later, a little over 6 months later, the mother makes another call to an investigator. The investigator does the work, and she finds out where Dexter is. They call the mother down to the station. An inmate in a jumpsuit and an officer say, "Ma'am, follow me." They walk her through this little broken grove and then through another field. And when they reach the grave, which had a metal stick pointing up out of it in a number, he points to the grave. "There's your son." The mother broke down crying. Police knew who he was. They never contact the mother. This was not an ex, but an off-duty policeman. So what it seems like is that Jacksonville Police Department said, you know what, instead of risking my officer to this unintended crime, probably could have been unintended, could have been intended, we don't know. It's better to just put old Dexter, in the pauper's field. Tell his mother we couldn't find him. This is the way Jacksonville, Mississippi gives it up. So you're talking about why are we on top of Nolan Wells, this Nolan Wells case so bad? Now let's take a blast from the past. We're still talking about Jacksonville police, Jacksonville people, Mississippi. The late but not great Medgar Evers. Well, isn't that Jacksonville, Mississippi? I believe so. It is Jackson, Mississippi. Medgar Evers, if you don't know, was a black brother. He was a civil rights leader. He was a field officer for the NAACP, Black Association, whose job was to go in the field and train black people on the methods, the methods that they had to learn in order to go down and vote. Because we were still being scared away from the voting polls, votes they were trying to keep out of our hands. So Medgar Evers was on a team of people on the field. He would go to black homes, black houses, rallies, wherever he could, where black people met, and he would teach them how the proper channels to go to the voting polls. It says Medgar Evers was a civil rights leader and was assassinated just after midnight on June 12, 1963, in the driveway of his home in Jackson, Mississippi. He was shot in the back by white supremacist Byron De La Beckworth. Medgar Evers was the first field secretary for the NAACP in Mississippi. He led voter registration drives, economic boycotts, and desegregation campaigns. So he was trying to bring black people into the fold of civility. He was trying to help black people to learn how to be a part of the American fabric. And those racist whites didn't like this. They saw Medgar Evers as a threat. And one of the cowards named Byron De La Beckworth waited for Medgar Evers in his home and put a bullet in him. That took his life. See the coward? Not because black people were smoking crack and we were all messed up and criminals all over the place. No, they were just trying to learn how to use the system to receive the benefits of the system like any other human being. But racist whites said no. Why do we look at Mississippi, particularly Jackson County, the way we do? And of course, we know the great story, the sad, tragic story of our brother Emmett Till, a youth from Chicago, came from a city that was progressive. You know, the city was moving past racism. It was an industrialized city with trains, buses, automobiles, movie theaters, you name it. The people gentrified, not gentrified, but they're mixing and mingling together, whites, blacks, and all types of things. He comes down south to be with his uncle one summer. He comes with the city attitude. He didn't know what he was in for in Mississippi. Some people say he went into a grocery store and, saw a white woman there, said something to her, or cat whistle, wolf whistle to her, what have you. She went and told some fellas, went into his uncle's house. They were so incensed by this because in the South, if you were black, you don't look in a white person's face, let alone cat whistle to a white woman, right? They were the higher ups and you were underneath. So this woman who goes and she goes back and tells a group of boys, her husband, whoever the heck it was, they are so enraged and incensed over this. They found out who the boy was staying with. They knew his uncle. They rushed the uncle's home, put guns to his head, and threatened to kill everything in there if he didn't tell where his nephew, little Emmett Till, was. Out of the fear of losing his life and trying to salvage his own family, he told them where Emmett was. They went in there, they snatched up Emmett Till, took him to a place, they beat him to death, beat him beyond recognition, put a bullet in his head, tied a cotton gin around his back, and then buried him on the water someplace, I believe, right? Beat him beyond recognition. This is why the mother said, you know what, leave the casket open so the world can see what those monsters in Mississippi did to my son. You couldn't tell who Emmett Till was. He looked like a monster in the cabin, in the coffin. May God rest his soul, give him peace and everlasting life and eternal bliss with the holy of holy ones. But this is the hatred of those people that came out of Mississippi. Why do I bring all of this forward? Oh, let me explain the significance of the cotton gin. The cotton gin was created in 1793 by a man named Eli Whitney. The cotton gin became important because the cotton gin was the first step in industrialization in the South, right? One of the first steps. It enabled the slaves that went out and picked the cotton to de-seed it at a very fast rate. And when they could de-seed this cotton, the white slave owners, they could sell it faster and make profit faster. So this machine that allowed the black slaves to de-seed cotton at an unprecedented speed, which would bring in much more capital gain for the white slave masters, this became a staple. Everybody wanted it, right? So the cotton gin, because of its ability to do this, made the Southerners, the Southern whites, who really didn't want to take us out of slavery anyway, renege. After the Revolutionary War, the Northern whites too, they reneged and said, we were going to give you freedom, but you know what? This machine, this cotton gin, is so useful and it's helping us to get so much cotton cleaned at such a fast rate and make so much dollars quicker than we were before. Sorry, black people, you're tied to the cotton fields. And they put us back in slavery. After they promised to take us out of slavery, if we fought with them, if we supported them, we helped them during the Revolutionary War, 1776. See? So they tied the cotton gin onto Emmett Till's back and buried him on the water with it. And the statement for him, as he is in his grave, that watery pit they put him in, and then the statement for anyone else who may have found him later, was that you Negroes, young or old, male or female, light skin or dark skin. You are tied to slavery, the cotton field, the tobacco fields. This is your home. You're nothing more than a slave, nigga. That's what it meant down in Jackson, Mississippi. Not to mention, they say, I haven't looked up this fact yet, but I have no reason to deny it, and I will fact check it later. Not to mention, they say slavery was officially ended in Mississippi in 2013. I'm going to look that up, but I'm just putting it out there. So do you see the relationship blacks have had with Mississippi by itself, not to mention all the other places that in the South where racism was just rampant and the atrocious things they have done to black people? Can you understand what I'm saying now? When it comes to and so many more I didn't even mention, the Vicksburg riots in 1800s, all these massacres that took place because we were only looking to be free as human beings and independent. They didn't want that. Ida B. Wells got out of Mississippi and went to pursue a career as a journalist to report all of the stuff she saw happening in Mississippi, how the whites were abusing blacks, torturing and hanging black people in Mississippi. So if you don't understand why we're looking at race when it comes to Nolan Wells, he is one of the only black people to go out on a boat with, a bunch of white kids who are his friends. If you don't understand that, listen, man, go do your history. Go read a book about Mississippi. Mississippi burning. That's another one. So now I want to get to the crux of this episode. I told you that one of Nolan's friends, there's a great chance that he already told us that he knew Nolan was already unalived on the 4th of July. He knew this already. And he said it, basically. I'm going to come to that. Just give me a second. But I want to address these people talking about, oh, Mrs. Wansley lied. She trying to get money because she lied and say she don't know those boys. And those boys went into his house many times. Let us see what Mrs. Wansley had to say herself about her knowing these boys. And her answer is just more than sufficient. Take a listen, brothers and sisters, as I play this on my little trusty tablet here. Here we go.
Island, we knew that, staying at Jack's house. And Jack's was a friend I think we've met in passing before. And that's the thing, I always say there's a difference in meeting someone, knowing of someone, and then knowing someone. Knowing implies that we've sat down, we've had discussions about your hopes, your dreams, knowing you, okay, hey, he stayed the night at my house, which Wyatt, one of his friends, he had stayed at our house a couple of times. And then Jack's, again, that was one I just maybe saw in passing a few times. There was only a handful of young men that we actually knew, he grew up with. And when I say grew up, I'm saying from first grade, they've known each other all through high school now that they're graduated. And that would be Jalen and Javon, LeBaron. Those are kids that we knew.
Okay. So I hope all of you reporters out there that are saying she lied, she didn't know these kids, she knew them, especially these black sisters and brothers I see doing this. Go do your research before you get up here and making these statements, because the woman just explained to you there's a difference between knowing someone intimately and knowing someone in passing. She said, Wyatt, sure, he spent the night a couple of times. Jax, I remember him in passing, but his friends from the sandbox, the ones that they go in his house and he go in there, their mothers and parents, everybody knows each other. Those friends from the sandbox who are entitled to say Nolan was my best friend more than Warren and Jax and others, Seymour, right? The ones who could say that, and she said it out of her mouth, from the sandbox were Jalen, Javon, and LeBaron, 3 black friends of Nolan Wells. These are his friends who she says, if you're a friend, we would know you. You would sit down with us. We would know what your aspirations are. Your friends, you're more closer like family. You come in my house, I come out of yours. Our parents know each other for years. Those are friends. Like when I grew up in the project on the 6th floor, we had a 6th floor crew and posse. My friend lived next door to me. I could go in his house. He could come in mine and eat and spend the night. He knew my mom. I knew his mom, his brother, everybody. We used to go to the store late at night on the weekends, go buy Chinese food, come back and play the Atari all night long. My mother knew him like nothing. She treated him as a son and he treated her as a mother. That's a friend. We went to school from public school, grade school, to junior high school, to high school. That's a friend. Okay, these boys, Jax, Warren, and all the rest of them, Wyatt and Bart, whatever, and all the rest of these guys, these are not his best friends. No, you're a friend, but you're not the best friend. So you have to, if you're going to be up here on YouTube doing this type of reporting, you have to get the facts. Okay, don't accuse someone of being a liar and trying to get money and money grabbing before you get the facts. And the facts are just what that woman said, Mrs. Wansley. May God bless her and her family. She says the friends that we know that are Warren's best friends will be the ones we knew from first grade. That would be Jalen, Javon, and LeBaron. Notice how she didn't mention no Jax, no Warren, no Bart, no Seymour, and all the rest of these guys. Huh? Do your research if you're going to be up here podcasting to thousands and millions of people. Do your research. Okay. Now, let's point out some of the lies that have been told. Let's point out some of the lies. So, Mrs. Wansley, she says that she went out to the island, her and her husband got in contact. Well, a friend contacted them or something like this. The next day, they went out to Horn Island on a boat because they didn't have a boat, right? They didn't own a boat. They didn't have a boat, but they were so concerned on that Saturday, they wanted to go out and look for Nolan. Now, this is in reference to the cell phone service on Horn Island. Remember, one of the things that those boys lived off was, man, when you're out there, there's absolutely no service, man. There's not even makes sense to bring your phone. Like you're going to get zero service, right? Here's what Mrs. Wansley said about her being on the island, making a phone call. Here she is telling us how the service was and still is on Horn Island.
School football coach, Coach Bramlett, text Elmore that morning. He said, hey, man, I got a boat. Because, again, we don't have boats. Let me make that very clear. We do not have a boat. We're not boating people. We don't do water like that, okay? So Coach Bramlett's like, hey, I got a boat. So we was like, great, let's go. We're on the water. We go out there. We walk the island. Cell phone works perfectly fine. I actually had almost an entire conversation with my grandmother who was in a panic as we're walking this island looking for anything.
I just want to pause there. The cell phone worked fine. Because in the reporting, there's been so much reporting that there's poor cell phone reception. And this is some of the disputes that we have about that night. Dad, feel free to jump in here because they're saying he met this young lady, Katie. And
so much for the no service on the island. Your cell phones are useless. That's why we keep them in the boats and the rest of that nonsense. All right. But the lady went there. And the father even said he also had perfect cell phone service. So much for that crap. All right. So we're getting down to the bottom of this now. Let me just see where I was at now. Okay. Now, I don't want to get to that fact that you're all waiting for, where one of the friends actually says that they knew Nolan was no longer alive. Okay. Let me get my notes straight from the sandbox. Okay. I guess I'll go there now. We're 29 minutes in. I guess I'll go there now. Now, brothers and sisters, let me say something to you. I always want you to know that when you're doing journalist work, right, you're doing your homework, you're gathering facts that you're going to use to support your case, you got to remember that it is always important to protect the integrity of the people that you're talking about. And in doing so, you have to make sure that you grab all the facts, not lies, not fiction. Nothing can be subjective. It all has to be objective. If you have not done sufficiently, you should not be up here reporting on things that you haven't had the facts about yet. Remember this, especially you black journalists that are trying to be, layman journalists here. I respect what you do. Always get the facts. Don't report anything that you might think went this way, that you have heard, that you just don't have the facts on. Or you may say, you know what, I want it to be this, so I'm going to twist it a little bit. Don't do that. Don't do that. Number one rule in journalistic and being a journalist is being honest to everything. When the information you're looking at goes in your favor or goes against you, when it supports what you like or does not support what you like, your job as a journalist is to bring factual, honest information. Period. If you're not doing that, you're not considered a real journalist. Okay, you're considered a shaman, a fake, a fraud. So I want to go to now the point that I've been looking at. And brothers and sisters, I don't know, but I listen to people when they talk. When a person is talking to me, the first thing I'm going to do is be quiet and I'm going to listen to you. To about whatever we're talking about. And I know that Mr. Wansley, Nolan's father, is a very intelligent man. He's a very passionate man. I can see that, full of wisdom. And I know he was so distraught that night that he went to speak to these boys to get the keys to Nolan's car and his wallet, what have you. That the man or the boy said what he said, and Mr. Wansley just didn't catch it because he's worried about Nolan. See, when your mind is not at ease and you're off kilter, you're upset about something, you can hear something and you won't catch it. And I believe that that's what happened with Mr. Wansley. So I'm going to play this part right here, which I suspect to be one of the most damning pieces of information out there. And it comes out of the mouth of Nolan Wells' father as he recounts the night on the 4th of July, going in from the 4th to the 5th of July, between 11 p.m. and 12 a.m. as he recounts the story of what happened when he went to the house to retrieve the keys. So let me get this thing right up to where it needs to be. Okay. What do we say? How the fuck can I get? Ooh, that's nasty. That's a commercial, y'all. I don't know if I should pay for a commercial free or ad free YouTube subscription. I don't know. But we'll see. Okay, let's get it right here. We'll pick it up right here. Now, always good to be a good listener. When Mr. Wansley went to the house to pick up the keys to Nolan's car, and the car too, the car was sitting outside of the house. This was the house of Jax. Now, Jax is the guy, if you look at the Officer Tatum, where he says, he has a video up, says, Nolan Wells' friends speak out again. And they have the lawyer there with them, and it's three of those boys. It's Warren, Jackson, something Seymour. Jax is in between Warren and the last kid, Seymour. He has on the gray hoodie. So when Nolan's dad went to retrieve his keys and his car, he went to Jax's house on the night of the 4th after 11 p.m. going into 12 a.m. on the 5th. That Sunday would be, rather. And when he got there, the father, he said there was a few things going on, and I'm going to play it right now, and then I'll come back.
I need them to kind of trust me as being an adult so I can get something out of them. So I get them out the house, and then Jax finally comes down the stairs, I guess, in the room. Hair all messed up like he just woke up, whatever. I said, look, I'm Nolan's father. His car's outside. I need to get his car and all his personal effects that may be left over here. And he goes, oh man, Nolan was like my brother. I said, Nolan was like my brother. I said, well, if Nolan was like your brother, would you please go and get everything of his so I can get his car, I can go home.
So I don't need to play anymore. You should have caught it by now. Here's a man that's distraught, out of his mind because his son is missing. His son went out with a bunch of white boys who now we know weren't his best friends, but friends in passing, out to an island on the 4th of July called Horn Island. Automatically, when he hears that we made it back, but Nolan didn't make it back, sound bells goes off in his head. He's not able to hear, speak, or think properly at this moment. He's worried about his son, Nolan. So when the time he gets to Jax's house and he runs into Jax because he knows that the key is there, Jax comes out all disheveled and sad. I'm Nolan Wells' father. Jax says, Mr. Wells, I just want you to know that Nolan was like a brother to me. And he said, well, if Nolan was like a brother to you, blah, 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 blah. But he didn't catch what he said. He spoke in the past tense. Nolan was like a brother to me. Why are you using the past tense verb to be in the past? Was means no more. He doesn't exist anymore. That's what it means. Because at this time, nobody is supposed to know that Nolan drowned or is no longer in the land of the living. But he said, I just want you to know, in a sad, melancholy way, Nolan was like a brother to me. That's the guilt. That's the guilt coming from Jax. He knew what happened to Nolan. He knew it. But he also knows the people that are responsible, and he can't cross the line. But he came out all sad and looking like this. He was like a brother to me. He knew what happened to Nolan. I'm not saying him and the Warren and the Seymour, whoever was on their boat, did this to Nolan. But whoever did it to Nolan, they know these people. They're friends with them. My suspicion? Well, if these guys are lawyered up and they got lawyers and everybody's talking, and the lawyer says on the same Tatum interview, we don't know who killed Nolan Wells or what caused his death, but I can tell you for sure that Warren, Jax, and Seymour had nothing to do with it. Well, about 20 people that went out that day on 3 boats, all close-knit friends. How come you didn't mention anybody else that had nothing to do with it? And now we go back to that tape again, which has not been officially debunked by any outstanding agency like the FBI, to my knowledge. And we hear, Wyatt, check his chest. Damn it, Bart. Could that be in the correct context? Now, do we understand the context of it? Just putting it out there. I don't know. This case is like a fish, you know? It comes out of water. You put your hand on it, you think you got it, it just slips and flops out of your hand. The minute you think you got a grip, the plot changes and twists. So we're just doing the best we can to add up the parts. But this is not Mr. Wansley's first time saying the same thing. He also said it on another press conference that Jax came out and said, you know, Nolan was like a brother to me. He said this twice within the span of a little bit over a month since Nolan passed. So this is a direct quotation from him. He's a primary witness. You see, Jax knows what happened to Nolan. Warren knows what happened to Nolan. Kid Seymour knows what happened to Warren. Their lawyers know what happened to Warren. I'm sorry, what happened to Nolan. I'm a little tired tonight. They all know what happened to Nolan. Rest his soul. But they can't say anything. Because those people that did this to Nolan Wells are also their friends. And one thing you don't do in a racist Mississippi is go against the grain. Especially when you're dealing with them white knights of the K-Clan boys. You get what I'm saying? Like in the case of Emmett Till. So brothers and sisters, that's going to be my show for tonight. And I'm going to be like a hawk perched on a high tree looking for any sign of evidence that could help us get a break in this case. But I think this is very, very significant, what I just presented here out of the words of Jax's own mouth. Mr. Wells, Mr. Wansley, Nolan was like a brother to me. I just want you to know Nolan was like a brother to me. And this is on the night of July 4th, 11 something going into the 5th after 12. Nolan's not reported unalived until Monday morning. Isn't it? Monday morning. This is when they found him washed up in the same place on Horn Island that the so-called riptide was supposed to rip him away from, washing machine nonsense. So brothers and sisters, that does it for me. I pray for peace and for justice and for answers for the Wansley family. And to you people that are out there calling these people, harassing them and harassing that poor woman, threatening her, trying to make her career no good, you should be ashamed of yourself, man. You should be ashamed. You're a low-life piece of trash, and you should be ashamed. To the Wansley family, I'm praying for you. God bless you all. God bless you. You had a wonderful son. He didn't deserve this, and we're going to keep on fighting for justice for Nolan Wells. Until the next time, I bid you peace.